When in front of a form, such as a login form for example, you are dealing with a website which will retrieve the information you have entered and compare it with what it has stored within its database. This retrieving and comparing part is done through a query language called SQL, which is short for Structured Query Language, also known as SQL. This language is pretty simple. For example, in the case of a login form, the SQL query will specify to the database that it must select the table containing all username and passwords in order to find an entry where the username and password are both equal to what is specified between quotes. If the database finds an entry that corresponds, it means that we have entered the correct information and thus we are given access. SQL has a lot more under the hood. For example, we can write some comments with the dash symbol written twice. For many reasons, as well as inadvertently, the developers behind this type of form have not necessarily thought about the possibility that a user enters something other than their username, and therefore they do not necessarily filter all characters not being a letter. If this is the case, then one way to abuse SQL queries will be to simply insert the username of the account we wish to access, close our username criteria with a single quote, and then commenting out everything else, ultimately erasing the rest. In our particular case, the SQL query then becomes, please search the database if in the user table there is an account with the username Jane. If there is such an entry, then we have successfully logged in while completely bypassing the second criteria, which was the password. Of course, there are so many more SQL injection methods that could work, but ultimately they all rely on the same principle.